We just conducted a survey for Amdocs in the digital transformation of BSS and OSS systems to cloud-native architecture and DevOps-led processes. We surveyed leading operators on their progress thus far and what they expect to happen in the next few years. The main findings from this survey has been grouped under three categories: infrastructure, architecture, and processes. The first category, computing infrastructure. Here, operators actually expect a massive shift to cloud-based infrastructure, especially hybrid cloud. Computing infrastructure, by the way, refers to systems running on virtualized servers or private clouds, such as Amazon Web Services or Microsoft Azure. In BSS, what we see is less than 30% of systems running on cloud infrastructure today. But the operators surveyed expect that in the next 5 years, about 80% will run on public, hybrid, or private clouds, with hybrid cloud deployments dominating overall. On the OSS side, we found that almost no systems running on any kind of cloud infrastructure today, but in the next 5 years, again, we expect that figure to be about 70%. The second category, architecture. In this area, there is an evolution from the traditional monolithic client-server architecture model to one that is cloud-native and microservices-based. Most operators actually plan to have new BSS OSS stacks completely built on microservices architecture in about 5 years, if not sooner. And over 40% of operators surveyed already see microservices as a requirement for any new system deployments. Operators also realize at the same time that it will be challenging to operate traditional monolithic applications alongside the new cloud-native applications, referred to as bimodal operations or hybrid IT. And about 64% of operators surveyed expect that they will need to reskill their workforce, and about 27% expect that they will need to rely on a third-party vendor for support. So the third category, processes. There is a huge shift underway from traditional waterfall-based techniques towards cutting-edge DevOps processes and CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous delivery models. The survey highlighted that about 45% of operators already have pilot DevOps teams working in few select areas, mainly around digital commerce, self-service for consumers, and enterprises. The reason why these three areas have been picked is because they need extreme business agility and also often need to work with vendors' development teams who already adhere to DevOps models. Most operators are not yet ready for continuous software releases into their IT environments. So even if the software vendors provide, say, new code in monthly drops, most operators will not be able to deploy rapidly. Nearly 2/3 of respondents expect it to be at least 2 to 3 years before CI/CD is mainstream. So with regard to the pace of adoption of cloud-native and DevOps models by operators, we found that they can be categorized into three main groups. The first category is true believers, which constitute about 10 to 15% of the total number of operators. Now, these are the leading edge CSPs, mostly in developed markets, with a large appetite for risk, and who are determined to become digital service providers or DSPs no matter what. They are seeking tremendous increase in their agility in both business and network operations to put themselves on par with companies like Amazon, Netflix, and Spotify. So they are moving quickly to adapt their development process to a DevOps-led model, and in the process are deploying new BSS and OSS systems built on cloud-native architecture. Other end of the spectrum, we have the skeptics who have limited market pressures to become digital. They're usually in a wait-and-watch mode, when it comes to assessing innovation. And they are experimenting with DevOps on one side, but at the same time, they're not quite convinced with it. They feel that these new processes are yet to be proven in the telco world. This group also accounts for about 10 to 15% of the total number of operators. So in the middle ground between the true believers and the skeptics are the hybrids, the largest of the three categories, and it accounts for about 2/3 of all operators. They are usually risk-averse and prefer stability over innovation. However, they want to become DSPs eventually, but they are waiting for the results of the true believers' efforts. They are also in the process of moving their BSS and OSS to private and hybrid cloud infrastructure, mainly to reduce costs, but they are not moving it quickly enough, when it comes to adopting DevOps processes and a microservices-based architecture. So overall, we see the leaders among the operators moving fast, but most of the industry is not, with many operators continuing to fall behind the software technology curve. The leaders who make this transition quickly are beginning to differentiate themselves with greater agility and lower operational cost, while the laggards will be hard-pressed to close that competitive gap.